Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Yesterday I recorded a video about an alternative way to have a 3-day weekend every week. We could have a 5-day work week and still a 3-day weekend. And I invite you to watch my video from yesterday. And I really do think that is the future. And the reason for that is that a lot of jobs require that train of thought, right? So, for example, I'm a professor at a community college. I would so much love if we could consolidate weeks together so that we could have 10 days of school followed by a 4-day break. Because I witnessed firsthand how much the students lose after a weekend. It feels like you have to you waste a little bit of effort trying to ramp back up. At the same time, I also witness a lot of students who miss out on family time. 2 days can be difficult if you're out of the town, right? We got students who might have to commute from. We got some students whose family is in Phoenix. They might share like an apartment here with their friends in Apache Junction, and they have to go home to their family. A 4-day weekend would allow for that to happen a lot more, and I think that would facilitate a good learning environment as well. I would so much love to consolidate weeks like that. I also thought about this in a previous life. I worked in technology, and you really need a train of thought. There are a lot of times on a 5-day week. By Friday, your train of thought is just starting to ramp up, and then you take a break, and it just feels like a waste. The weekend also feels like a waste, right? You got 2 days, you can't drive somewhere, you can't fly anywhere, and it just like, why can't we have the best of both worlds, right? If we could work 10 days and take a 4-day weekend, right? And here's what I would propose. Actually, I know this is a radical idea. What I would propose is that there's 365 days in the year, right? And we work, let's see, if you let me get out my calculator. If we work 5 days a week for 52 weeks, that's 260 days minus 20 days for your vacations and holidays, 240 days. I would propose having the office open 365 days a year and giving us 125 vacation days for us to take whenever we want, right? You can have your weekends, or if there are days where months where you're a workaholic, you could potentially get your work done in 5 months out of the year, right? I really would propose such a system because people break at very different periods, right? Sometimes on a Saturday, my energy is just ramping up, right? I would much rather work through that and take some other time off, right? Other times, I'm really burnt out, right? And I'm glad old school Dave says you need to be running the world. Do you like my vacation idea, by the way? To just have the office open every day and allow you to choose your own weekends, holidays, and vacations. Uh, why don't you leave? You like the idea? Okay, leave a dislike on this video then. But here's what drives me nuts. A lot of companies or schools or organizations are quote unquote trying a 4-day week. Here's the problem with that. There's no such thing. If you're going to try a 4-day week for 3 months, all you're doing is scheduling a bunch of random vacations for the next 3 months. People cannot plan their future lives around that, right? They can't plan to go to something every Friday if they know that in 3 months they might not have that day off anymore, right? You're just getting the worst of both worlds by calling it trying, right? You have to jump right on board, and yep, you have to do it. But I still think that's not the ideal solution. Going right on board is infinitely better than trying. But I think the people know themselves a whole lot better, right? So when they want to take off, like for example, if we went with my idea of allowing people to choose their own holidays, I likely wouldn't take Labor Day off, right? A lot of things that I want to do are not nearly as open, right? Airfare is going to be more expensive, right? Gas is going to be more expensive. My favorite restaurant might be busier than normal. I'd much more likely take a different day off that has some meaning to me, right? For example, especially this week, I just been so this whole month, I just been so burnt out. The week would start before I'm ready for it, and then I would start the week on a bad footing, right? I talked about a couple weeks ago how on a Monday I thought it should have been a Thursday, right? Go watch that video. That was kind of funny. I still feel that way today. It doesn't feel like it should be Sunday already. It feels like we should just be starting the weekend right now. So this is the kind of time where I'd love to take a few extra days off, and then I could go to my favorite theme park, right? I wouldn't like to go on a Sunday because it would be very crowded, but on a Monday, on a Tuesday, definitely, right? Especially if it's not a holiday where people are going to crowd, right? There was a video game convention in Portland. I was way too exhausted to even think about it, right? But if I got to choose my own weekends, right, I probably would have done that, right? Good luck getting anybody to understand my concept. Imagine I go up, let's say I land a job at who knows what next week, right? And I go shake hands with my new employer. Hey, my employer says, you get your weekends off, you get 15 vacation days and all that. And I say to my prospective employer, that's all great, but a lot of times the weekend comes and, my brain's still active. Is it okay if instead of that, we have a 365-day work week and we have 125 days to take off whenever we want, right? If it's the weekend, it's the weekend. If it's some other day, it's some other day, right? That way, when my ideas are flowing, I can continue to work, right? What do you think my employer's going to say? I think they're gonna think I have three heads at that point. I wish people were more fluid to accepting new ideas, right? I think that's the big barrier. I don't think people are against this idea. They just don't have the mental energy to digest it, right? And that's why I'm throwing these nuggets out there for us to think about. I think we would improve our productivity so much more because people would work when it makes sense for them to. You wouldn't see people enslaved in their offices because they would choose to stay home if that's how they felt, right? And I just think of it this way, right? Right now, as I speak, there are people who are working on cancer research who are forced to take whatever holiday off because that's whenever they get to take off, right? What if the cure for cancer just happened to be in the head of somebody working on cancer research, but unfortunately it was Christmas Day, right? It could happen. I guarantee in the history of mankind that has happened a few times, right? What if right now as I speak, there are scientists working feverishly to find chemical element number 119 that could be powering our future electric cars, right? Radioactive isotope generators. What if the idea for a chemical element 119 or a stable isotope of moscovium, which could be used for other things, right? What if the idea for that just happened to pop into the heads of a physical researcher, but unfortunately it was Thanksgiving and he took the day off because otherwise he won't have any other time to take off, right? What if you get the idea, right? Now, a lot of people are still out there looking for their future life partners, right? What if two people were destined to go to the shopping mall and meet each other, but unfortunately, it was a Tuesday afternoon and they had to go to work, right? You get the idea. You could come up with. I guarantee all of these have happened many, many times in human history. Out of 100 billion people who have ever lived on this earth, each of them having lived an average of what? At least 35 years, probably. 35 times 100 billion, right? How many years? That many human years. I guarantee many of the things that I just mentioned have happened millions of times, right? Isn't that unfortunate? Next time you need chemotherapy and you wish there was a better drug, next time you wish that you didn't have to put gasoline in your car, think about that, right? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.